I'm Mayor Mike Walsh, and I'd like to welcome you to the Mayor's Corner. This is a program where we provide viewers with information about city government, pertinent issues, and things that may be of interest within our community. I will be interviewing individuals in an effort to give a first-hand perspective of concepts, ideas, and involvements of a particular subject. The topic for this episode is the Police Department of the City of De Pere, and my guest is Chief Derek Beiderwieden, the Police Chief for the City of De Pere. Welcome, Chief. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it, and we're going to have a good chat.
I hope so. I guess the first question would be to have you tell us a little bit about your experience in law enforcement and basically as Chief of Police for the City of De Pere.
I started my career back in 1984 after getting through the police academy in Michigan, Lansing, Michigan. I worked for a small city called the City of De Pere, and I worked, it was about 2,500 people, and when I worked I was typically the lone police officer, and I worked there actually, I volunteered my time there as a police officer. I was paid $1 a year to work there as a reserve officer. So that was my first experience in law enforcement. Had to buy my own vest and my own gun. Then I received a position with the City of Lansing, Michigan, and worked there for about 17 and a half years. I had different experiences there. I was a police officer, I was a field training officer, I was a motorcycle officer, I supervisor in charge of our community service unit, I was a road supervisor on the various shifts, I was a lieutenant in charge of our internal affairs, I was a shift lieutenant on the South Precinct. I was acting captain for a little bit. And so I had a lot of experience there. Then an opportunity came for the City of De Pere. I applied for it. And so I left the City of Lansing, came to the City of De Pere, became chief. And I've been here about 13 years. So I have about 30 years in law enforcement now.
Well, we're certainly glad to have you as chief for our community here. And you've been doing a great job ever since you've been here. So we really appreciate it. Will you kind of give our audience an overview of the entire department?
We have 35 sworn officers in various divisions. We have 4 administrative personnel that help us with our front desk and other record keeping, and we have 2 community service officers that assist us with things like parking and other tasks that we might have during the day. Why
don't you tell us a little bit more about the different divisions and the staffing that you have?
We have 3 different divisions. The first one is the field division, or it's really the patrol division. The other divisions are support and administrative. Now, with the patrol division, we have we operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so we're full service. We do everything. And we have 4 different shifts that vary during the day, different times that make our patrol more efficient. We have the people there that need to be at the right times. The patrol division also has a canine unit and evidence technicians that are part of their regular jobs. They're police officers, but they also do the side things like being a canine officer or an evidence technician. They're supervised by sergeants, road supervisors that are in charge of each shift when they're working. Our support division has detective sergeants assigned to it, school liaison officers, and a crime prevention coordinator. We also have the 2 CSOs, the 2 community service officers are assigned to that division too. And lastly, our administrative division consists of 3 office assistant positions and 1 business manager, and they handle everything from finance to paying the bills and the things that we have, and record keeping and providing personnel to the front counter. So when people come in the door, they're greeted by somebody at the front desk. So they answer phones, that kind of thing.
So with like the school liaison officers and detectives, do they sometimes do double duty, or they strictly do the detective work, the school liaison, or when the school's not in session, of course, the liaison officers have to be able to do something else?
Yes, at 10 months of the year, they work for the school, in the schools, and specifically, provide that service for the 2 different school districts. During off times, the school liaison officers, school resource officers, another term for it, They do traffic and either operate a motorcycle or a vehicle, and do a lot of traffic enforcement during the summer times. Our detective sergeants don't necessarily do double duty, but if overtime is requested for a special assignment, such as a drunk driving patrol or something like that, and they're qualified to do that, they can do that. So, so there are some opportunities, but detective sergeants typically do investigations.
How are police services provided in the City of De Pere?
The services that we provide are done in what we call team policing, and what it is a sort of modification of community policing. Community policing is where officers are engaged in the community and provide a sort of service more on the neighborhood level and dealing with quality of life issues and that kind of thing, plus responding to calls for service as we normally would. And that differs a lot with from the traditional policing, where there was a sort of lack of engagement, I think, and I call it the 1950s policing, but I don't think that's the right term. It was just a sort of response to calls for service. And what we did with team policing is that we have people assigned, officers assigned and supervisors assigned to specific areas of the city that they actually volunteer for. We have a sign up every year that the officers get to sign up for, and they can work a specific area of the city. And what they do is get to know what kinds of things are happening in their area, burglaries and crime trends and things like that. And they also know the people, so they know that that house is going to be empty for 3 months because that person's on vacation or whatever the case is. So there is really a real engagement at the community level, and that's what we've done. We've taken it from community policing and made it team policing, where they really engage with the people.
So in order to get to that point, do the citizens normally call into the police department to say, I am going to be gone for 3 months, can you keep an eye on it? Or is this something that the police officer really knows by being out there?
Well, both actually. Sometimes, the first time it occurs, we don't know about it. But if they're a regular, they live here the family lives here for, let's say, 9 months of the year, and then they go to somewhere else during the winter months.
Right?
We're a little warmer, yeah. I don't blame anybody for that, frankly. But they give us a call and they let us know, and then we're aware that their house or their property is empty for a little bit, and then we get to know that. So the officers then, over time, will learn that sort of behaviors.
Is team policing a rather new concept? Is this something you brought forward, or did you learn about it someplace, or how did you start to implement this?
I learned about it in Michigan. That's where I first had experience with it as an officer, a sergeant, a lieutenant, in the department I worked for, and so. Of course, that was ingrained in me, and so I brought some of that forward, and we created our own from here. This isn't a cookie cutter approach to something else somebody else did. So we just modified it to make it fit from what we need. And the way we broke the city up was really, it's in quarters. We have 4 team areas, just made it easy, 2 on each side of the river. But we broke it down by calls for service, so it was really more even, and officers aren't working a small area where there's a lot of calls. They have a broader sense of what's going on in the neighborhood. So
this is kind of something that's relatively new to our area. Yeah. Have other communities kind of gone in that direction, or are they still doing the old time policing?
There are departments that still, I think, do this sort of traditional policing where they wait for the call for service. They might do some proactive, activities, but more wait for what's going on. And it really depends. The more busy your department is, the more calls for service you have, the less time you have in the proactive side of it. And so we try to do the proactive so we have more time to continue doing that. Because if you do it proactive, if you address the crime issues right up front or before they occur, and in other words, a prevention mode, then you have more time for patrol and for continuing those proactive activities later on. Because if you're not dealing with somebody calling in for service, then we have more time. So, but it's it's not a new concept. I think officers have been doing it. It's just it's sort of maybe a reintroduction of it, and make it more formalized. So we have it's a matrix or a process, a protocol that we have.
And I know over the years we've tried to, we've suggested that the officers get out of the cars and interact with not only the residents but also the businesses downtown. And it seems like this is a way that you're going to be able to do that.
It is, and I do know my officers do get out of the car. They stop somebody, they'll be talking to about mowing their yard or whatever it might be. I know officers have stopped and played basketball for a few minutes with kids on the side of the road playing in their driveway. So I know that kind of thing. It really does go a long way when you're able to just stop and talk with somebody on a normal basis and not because of a call for service or some problem that's happening. And it really does pay dividends in the long run.
Yeah, I think being proactive with our citizens really makes a big difference.
Absolutely.
Right. What are some of the different programs offered by the department?
Well, we have a lot of programs that we offer in the city for the city police department. Some of the bigger ones are we offer a citizens academy each year, and that's where we invite our citizens to come in and learn about the police department and learn about police work overall. And we get to show them that over about an 8-week period of time. We have Neighborhood Watch, as most departments do, as in some form. We formalized ours, so we have Neighborhood Watch captains and groups, and they're required to meet every so often every year, and a lot of them have really taken that on, and they have block parties and they have the big deal. It's kind of neat to see. And of course, our involvement in that is either attending the meetings, attending the block parties, those kinds of things. We have Volunteers in Police Service, which is a group of dedicated citizens who have come to volunteer in our department for different events, and really do help out the department in a volunteer way. Of course, we have vacation house checks and things like that we do offer. Again, if somebody needs to, they can just call us, and we're glad to check on their house when they're gone. We have a drug drop-off box that we use during our business hours, and people that have unwanted pharmaceuticals from their house can bring it over and drop it off right at our police department, and we're glad to dispose of that through a program through the state now. So that's really kind of a neat thing.
One of the that just basically started this year, correct?
We started that January 1st. Before that, we did twice a year with the DEA, the federal DEA would do a take-back event twice a year, and we always participated in that because we thought that was a good thing to do, is take that unwanted pharmaceuticals from the cabinets of the house and kind of get it out of the street and get it out of our water supply because of improper disposal. So we decided to do the drug drop box, and I have to give a kudos to CVS Pharmacy for donating the box to us for that. So we do have collected quite a bit since January 1st of this year. We're up to about 46 pounds so far of pharmaceuticals, and if you think of how much a pill weighs, that's how much volume we have. It's a pretty large volume, so we're doing well. Even
the previous events, and you only did it like once or twice a year.
Correct.
You collected quite a bit at those too.
Yeah, hundreds of pounds of pharmaceuticals were collected in the city over the years that we did it.
So this should be pretty successful too, I would think, because now people, rather than saving them up, will be able to drop them off at their convenience.
Correct. Yeah. Right. You don't have to save it up. You can just bring it over anytime you want. Yep. And so we also offer fingerprinting services for some businesses require people to be bonded, and so they need their fingerprints taken and things like that. And we offer that service. It's a pretty nominal charge for that, but we do offer that. Bicycle registration. If you have a bicycle in the city, we recommend that you get it licensed and registered, so that way if we find it in Alloway or some other place because somebody took it for a ride, we can get it back to you, and it's a really simple process to do that, and there's no charge for that. We don't charge for that at all. We also have block party permits and things like that if a group wants to have a block party or a neighborhood. We do community education. We talked a little bit about that earlier. The business education. We do taverns and bars, and we'll educate the bartenders on how to check IDs and how to sell alcohol properly, I think. And of course we have crossing guards. We have 18 crossing guards in the city that we provide that service to the schools.
So it's not strictly enforcement that you do, it's education also.
We do a lot of things, yeah. It's education also.
Good. I understand that your department has regional involvement. What are some of the areas that the department extends further than the City of De Pere?
Well, we're involved in quite a few things, and we really pride ourselves in that kind of regional involvement, because the City of De Pere is not an island. It's part of a bigger, it's a bigger Brown County population, and people move freely in and out of the community, and so we try to be part of that. So the drug enforcement, drug task force, we have an agent. We assign an officer to be an agent there, and so they help us and they help Brown County and Green Bay, Brown County, Ashwaubenon has people in there. I think Oneida has some. We do, and as a group, we try to combat some of that drug problems that we have. We have a detective sergeant that's trained in arson investigation, and so he's part of the fire investigators task force. And we also have 2 officers on SWAT team. It's called the Brown County Emergency Response Team, but we have 2 officers specifically assigned to that. But they work here normally and are trained to be a SWAT officer and will respond if necessary when a call for services is out there. They don't work that full time. The Crime Stoppers, we have 1 member on the board of directors as part of that. The Child Advocacy Center, we have the Willow Tree Child Advocacy Center in Green Bay. We're part. We have detective sergeants that will go up there and do interviews there because you don't want to re-victimize a child, so you only want to interview once. So we use that center to sort of record it and get that one-time interview. We also have a few other things. We're part of the Brown County Crime Prevention Foundation. We have a board member, one of our officers is a board member of that, which is a way of sort of getting back grants and things back out into the community for crime prevention efforts. We also have the Brown County Traffic Safety Committee. We have a member of our department on that, and that looks at bigger picture issues involving traffic safety in Brown County. And lastly, I'm a member of the Brown County Public Safety Communications Advisory Board. In fact, I'm the chair of that, and we advise. We get to have an opportunity to be part of the Brown County Public Safety Communications for all police and fire. We're also part of the Brown County OWI or Drunk Driving Task Force, where we have officers assigned in different times of the year to enforce drunk driving laws, and that's with other officers from other areas, and we found that to be very successful. And when they come to De Pere, we have quite a few drunk drivers that we get each time. So there's still a pretty big problem, even though there's been all this education.
Good. We are a standalone department. Do we get help from other agencies like, say, Brown County or Ashwaubenon, anything like that?
When we become overwhelmed with a call for service, and it's a large call, where you need lots of police officers or other personnel, it might be a fatal crash scene, or it might be a robbery in progress, things like that. We call for assistance, and the Brown County Sheriff and Ashwaubenon and other departments will send assistance our way. The assistance might be in the form of a SWAT team. It might be in the form of just patrol officers responding this way in their patrol squads. Either way, we do, and vice versa. Ashwaubenon, Brown County, or somebody else calls, we assist them also when we can, and they do the same thing when they can.
Good. What are some of the vehicles and equipment that the department has?
We have a number of vehicles at our disposal. Probably the one that people want to know about, our patrol squad. We're changing over now to the Ford Interceptor. It's the Ford Explorer base model, And so you'll see that change in our future here. It's occurring right now. The other vehicles we have, of course, we have detective squads, detective vehicles, and they look pretty normal vehicles. They don't really stand out. They're not marked or anything. The other vehicles that we have are we have a pickup truck that our community service officer uses to pick up stuff and drop stuff off, and that's been helpful. We got that on a military surplus, so that was free and no charge to the city. Also, we have 2 motorcycles. One's a Harley Davidson and one's a BMW. And the BMW we got from the military also on a surplus that used to patrol around the Pentagon Police or the Pentagon Area Police. Used to use that for patrolling the parking lots and the driveways and the driving areas around the Pentagon. So we got that on a surplus and spent a little bit of money to fix it up. Had some broken fairings and things like that, and so that was no charge, except for a little bit of minor cosmetic work. So some of the equipment that we have in the patrol squads and other vehicles, we all have first aid kits, and the squads all carry defibrillators. And so if we need to on a CPR run, we can help with that before the ambulance gets there. They all carry rifles, and some of them carry shotguns. Patrol rifles are, you may understand them to be M16s or AR-15 type of rifle that looks like that. But we use those in really high profile situations where more firepower is necessary. So it is in the vehicle. We also have radars and computers in the vehicles. We're looking at squad cameras right now. We're experimenting with a couple of different brands to see which one works for us. But we're going to probably see that in our future as some kind of squad camera or some kind of recording devices. Some of them have traffic control devices, cones, and a safety vest for the officer operating it and doing traffic control. Of course, they all have flashlights and things and other sort of equipment like that. Some of the vehicles also they carry an evidence the evidence technician, if they're driving the vehicle, will carry their evidence box with them sometimes.
Okay. Well, Chief, we're just about out of time. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, I just want to add that the police department is a full-service organization, and we're here for the public. And if there's anything the public needs from us, please let us know. We're happy to try to accommodate the best we can.
Well, thank you very much, Chief, for taking the time to provide our viewers with the information about the police department for the City of De Pere. This concludes another episode of the Mayor's Corner. Thank you for watching, and until next time, I'm Mayor Mike Walsh.